All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Monday, June 5th meeting of the Tuckahoe Village Board of Trustees. Will everyone please rise and join me in the pledge of the flag? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the village clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Giordano.
Present.
Trustee Luisi.
Present.
Trustee Leo.
Present.
Trustee Alfasi.
Present.
Mayor Eklund.
I am here tonight. I have a couple of appointments to make tonight. I'm going to start with the first appointment, which is an appointment of Anthony Fiore to the Zoning Board of Appeals as ad hoc member, term to expire March 31, 2018. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Just a little discussion on this. Anthony came here tonight, and most people know Anthony by now. He comes to most of our meetings, and he actually ran against me for the position of mayor in this most recent election. So one of the things that strikes me about Anthony is that he is always he's approached me probably about a year ago and asked if he was running for trustee at that time, and he said, look, I may be interested in a spot on the zoning or planning board if something were to come up. He said, but, first thing I'm going to try to run for elected office. So he's done that. He recently ran for school board trustee also. So I spoke to Anthony recently and said, look, you're one guy that I know of who, aside from party affiliation, he's a registered Democrat, came and opposed in this election, but as everybody knows, my position is national labels don't really apply here in a small community. It's more about how your zoning is applied, your garbage is getting picked up, and making sure that our homes are safe. So, Anthony, I know that you wanted to do something, and I think this is a good fit for you, and I want to thank you and welcome you.
Trustee Giordano.
In favor.
Trustee Luisi.
In favor.
Trustee Leo.
In favor.
Trustee Alfasi.
In favor.
Mayor Eklund.
In favor. The next is an appointment to the Planning Board. Eric Fang as an ad hoc member, term to expire on March 31, 2018. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Trustee Giordano.
Favor.
Trustee Luisi.
In favor.
Trustee Leo.
In favor.
Trustee Alfasi.
In favor.
Mayor Eklund.
In favor. And last is the appointment of Karen Gizzo as the village representative to the Eastchester Volunteer Ambulance Corps Board, and her term will expire on March 31, 2018. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Trustee Giordano.
Favor.
Trustee Luisi.
In favor.
Trustee Leo.
In favor.
Trustee Alfasi.
In favor.
Mayor Eklund.
In favor. So I just want to take a moment to thank all our volunteers. I see our planning board member, Melba Caliano, just walked in the room too. She serves on our planning board. Volunteers in our community, they step up and they serve on these boards. They're non-paid positions, of course. Sometimes they'll take up a lot of time if there's a large application at hand. Last month, I made a bunch of appointments, one of which was contested here, and it was challenging the qualifications of our planning board chairperson. And that kind of disturbed me when I went home and I thought about it. Anne-Marie Charmella, she's been a resident of our community for over 50 years. She served as a volunteer on our planning board for over 25 years and as chairman of the Sign and Awning Board for 4 years now. She served on the Master Plan Committee that Ms. Caliano also served on. Thank you. The New York State Planning Federation selected Anne-Marie as a recipient of its annual award for Outstanding Planning Chair of the Year person. I went to that ceremony they had. And for the past 4 years, she's been a member of the Westchester Municipal Planning Federation Board of Directors. So, people may not agree with the decisions of appointments that we make to some of these boards, but I think we do a good job in selecting volunteers who step up. And when I thought about it afterwards, I think it was quite rude for somebody to actually say some pretty mean things about some of the appointments we made. So I want to just make that comment. So we have no presentations or public hearings tonight. That's going to bring us to the adoption of minutes of the approval of minutes of our regular meeting of May 8th, 2017. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Trustee Giordano.
In favor.
Trustee Luisi.
In favor.
Trustee Leo.
In favor.
Trustee Alfasi.
In favor.
Mayor Eklund.
In favor. That's going to bring us to our first opportunity to address the board on anything that's on this agenda. Okay. We have just a couple of resolutions tonight. First is Resolution Number 1, authorizing the use of Washington Street and Union Place for the Tuckahoe Housing Authority's annual Family Day on August 19th, 2017, with a rain date of August 20th. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Trustee Giordano.
In favor.
Trustee Luisi.
In favor.
Trustee Leo.
In favor.
Trustee Alfasi.
In favor.
Mayor Eklund.
In favor. Resolution number 2, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby establishes the following as standard workdays for elected and appointed officials, and will report the following days' work to the New York State and local employees' retirement systems based on the record of activities maintained and submitted by these officials to the village clerk. And we're talking tonight about the standard workday and reporting for the Associate Village Justice. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Trustee Giordano.
In favor.
Trustee Luisi.
Favor.
Trustee Leo.
In favor.
Trustee Alfasi.
In favor.
Mayor Eklund.
In favor. And last resolution is Resolution Number 3. We're going to pay some bills. It's authorizing the approval of vouchers in the amount of $396,302. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Trustee Giordano.
In favor.
Trustee Luisi.
Favor.
Trustee Leo.
In favor.
Trustee Alfasi.
In favor.
Mayor Eklund.
In favor. And that's going to bring us to our departmental reports to the board. And as always, we start with our Police Chief, John Costanzo.
Good evening, Mayor. This is on?
Yeah.
So good evening. Just a couple of topics I wanted to talk about. One, I wanted to congratulate the fifth grade DARE class. They had their culmination last week. Officer Evan Piasta was their instructor. He did a great job. This was his first year teaching on the fifth grade level. It was a wonderful ceremony, so I just want to congratulate the students on a job well done and wish them luck as they make their way into the middle school. Currently, Officer Piasta is teaching the middle school at Tuckahoe, and that should be concluding in the next couple of weeks also. I just wanted to dovetail into, just today we got a letter from the community fund that they will once again give us a grant to support not only our DARE program, but the other youth programs in the village that the police department provides. The total amount in the grant was $10,500, so it really goes a long way in supporting those programs. So I want to thank the community fund. And then one more thing dovetailing into that is that Melinda Burge, the executive director of the community fund, is stepping down. She's moving out of state, but I just want to say thank you to her. During her tenure as the director, she championed the causes of the Tuckahoe Police Youth Programs and provided funding and really let DARE and some of these other outreach programs go on. And she was really a staunch supporter of these programs. So I want to wish her and her family the very best of luck in her new endeavors. So.
And I think she had a special place in her heart for Tuckahoe, too. She was always very generous and kind
She
to
came
us.
to all of our events, the bike safety events, never missed a DARE graduation. Like I said, she really championed our causes, and I really want to express a heartfelt thank you for all she's done. And, you know, I said it at the DARE graduation, I firmly believe that there are hundreds of kids, if not more than maybe thousands of young people in this village over the years who have benefited greatly, are safer because of the programs such as DARE, and certainly enriched their life because of the programs that the community fund supports. And knowing that Melinda was such a staunch supporter went a long way in keeping those programs going. So I just wanted to.
I agree. We're going to miss her, that's for sure.
Absolutely. So that's my report.
All right, thank you. How about Mr. Galuzzi? John Galuzzi is going to talk to us about fireworks, I'll bet.
Board, good evening. Before we get to the fireworks, I'd also like to congratulate Anthony Fury on his new appointment. I'm sure Anthony will do well in anything he takes on in the village. He's a very passionate resident, and congratulations, Anthony. July 8th, it's a Saturday at Parkway Oval Field, our annual fireworks, Tuckahoe Fireworks Show. As everybody knows, we we have in the thousands. At least 3,000 people show up for that, or families, mostly kids, and they have a wonderful time watching the Grucci fireworks, which will display in the skies at around 9:30. You'll want to make sure you're there for 9:30. That's when the fireworks will go off. But before that, we have a host of entertainment this year featuring a lot of community talent and the younger generation, young performers. They'll be doing solo acts, and we have some duets, and it'll be a fine showcase for the young talent this year down there. We have a duet also later in the evening, and they're called Twin Gold, and they'll be doing some oldies. And then further on down the line, our feature will be Sugar and Spice. Sugar and Spice is called the Ultimate Girl Band Tribute. And they do a lot of pop music, and they'll come and they'll do change of their outfits, and it's all geared to make the kids happy and put on a nice show for the kids. This is all brought to us by, of course, the Village of Tuckahoe and the Generoso Pope Foundation, once again, with their generous gift to sponsor the fireworks. We appreciate that from the Generoso Pope Foundation as well. We also have Joshua Crumpton and Gianna Torres. They'll do the political music, America the Beautiful, and our Star Spangled Banner. I'm sorry about that. All on Saturday, July 8th, so you'll want to make sure you're down there. Our rain date will be the next day, Sunday, July 9th. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Camille, anything?
I would like to thank the Community Fund for the grant for the trolley. They've came through again, thank goodness. And also, I want to remind residents that village taxes are they should have gotten them already, their tax bills, and they're due by June 30th without penalty. Thank you.
Okay. David, anything? Or
I'd just like to congratulate Anthony Fiore. I met with him before the meeting, and look forward to working with you.
Two quick updates. One is it's hard to believe, but our new fiscal year started on the 1st. So what the board will see is kind of a wrap up our old fiscal year. The auditors are actually coming in for the preliminary audit next week, so things are happening very fast, and you'll see kind of some end of the year transactions in the next couple of agendas, but look like we ended the year very good, and we'll have those definite numbers in the next couple of months. Something else I want to mention is street resurfacing is coming up in the next couple of weeks. Actually, it's usually later in the year, but we're on the list up there, and I wanted to mention the names of the streets we're actually going to resurface, because I know a lot of people are very interested in that. Fairview Avenue, a portion of Fairview between Garfield and Main Street, Park Avenue, a portion of Winter Hill Road, Grant Street, Midland Avenue, Midland Place, between Midland Ave and Midway, Union Place, and Oakland Ave between Lincoln and Fisher. So look out for those. Look out for that in the next couple of weeks, and it should be really a good improvement for the village.
okay, great. Thank you. Miscellaneous business. Our next village board meeting will be on July 10th, 2017, and that's going to bring us to our Board of Trustees member reports. And we're going to start with your Deputy Mayor, Tom Giordano.
Thank you, Mayor Steve. Just a couple of announcements. We have scheduled a zoning workshop with our consultant to discuss updates to our zoning code. Once we have crystallized what we intend the scope of that review to be, we will certainly be soliciting feedback from the public before voting to adopt as to how those changes are going to be made. So more to come on that. Chief, thank you for recognizing Melinda Burge. I'd like to echo those sentiments of gratitude for her support to our community over the years. Through her, the Community Fund has not only sponsored the DARE program and the trolley, but also significant contributions to ECAP, and also every 4 years buys a new ambulance for EVAC. They support the Bereavement Center, and many other really worthy organizations that make our community a better place. She will be missed. I know they are searching for a replacement now, but there'll be a hole in the community that she leaves. And I'd also like to echo in the congratulations to Anthony Fiore for his appointment to the zoning board. I can tell from your commitment over the years that if you have half as much commitment as you have in running over the past 4, you'll be fully committed to doing a good job on the zoning board. So all the best.
Thank you. Trustee Luisi.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to start off by congratulating the members of the History Committee, Phil and Alice White, who last week celebrated their 68th wedding anniversary. I know there was a little controversy with 68 or 69. I think they finally settled on 68 years. So I believe they hold the record for being the longest married couple in the village of Tuckahoe. So congratulations to those two wonderful people. And moving along to our Tuckahoe seniors, tomorrow, actually Thursday, I'm sorry, the Tuckahoe Middle School will be performing for the seniors at Father Fodder Hall. The Tuckahoe Middle School actually performed at the 45th anniversary celebration of the Tuckahoe Senior Center 2 years ago. So this is going to be a most anticipated performance coming up on Thursday, June 8th. I'd also like to acknowledge the high school students from Bronxville who spent last Thursday with the seniors enjoying pizza and then later playing bingo with them. Also later on this month, the seniors will be attending a day trip to the Sands Casino in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania on Tuesday, June 13th. Something that I think is very interesting, especially in light of what just occurred. There will be a unique talk by Laura Ledbetter on her life and times performing in the circus. And lastly, they will celebrate the 4th of July on Thursday, June 29th with everyone's favorite hot dogs and baked beans. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Trustee Leo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As usual, the library has many wonderful programs, and I think they've exceeded themselves this month. They have one-on-one computer classes that will take place on Tuesdays, June 6th and the 20th at 11 a.m. Our librarians in Havana, and that's Hemingway in Cuba, and that will take place on June 12th at 4:30. The evening book club, A 100-Foot Journey by Richard C. Moraes, and that will take place on Wednesday, June 21st at 6:30 p.m. Adult coloring at the Tuckahoe Library, that will take place on Wednesday, June 28th at 11 a.m. And then an adult summer reading kickoff, and that will take place on Wednesday, June 28th at 6:30 p.m. Then we have the Tuckahoe Library presents Reiki, Tapping into the Energy Field, and that will take place on Thursday, July 6th at 12 p.m., and registration is required. The Children's Summer Reading Kickoff, Build a Better World, and that will take place on Thursday, June 29th at 11:30 a.m. at the Tuckahoe Community Center, and it's open to children from ages 3 to 10. Registration is required. And then we have the calendar events for children, and that is Sing-Along Miss Elaine, and that will take place on Monday, June 12th at 11:30 a.m. Arts and Crafts, Come and Make a Special Craft, and that's open to children from ages 5 to 10, and that will take place on Tuesday, June 13th at 4 p.m. Legos at the Library, that will take place on Tuesday, June 20th at 4 p.m. Puzzle Making, that will take place Tuesday, June 27th at 4 p.m. And Baby Time, Story Time, and that will take place on Thursdays, every Thursday in the month of June. That's the 8th, 15th, and 22nd at 11 a.m. And Story Time for young kids again, that will take place on Fridays. That will be Friday the 9th, 16th, 23rd, and the 30th at 11 a.m. And then the library also has How to Write a Resume That Stands Out, and that will take place on Monday, July 17th at 12 p.m. And at 6 p.m., there are one-on-one sessions if you need help. Then we have team programs, the college application spotlight on recommendation letters, and the extracurricular profile. It's a workshop for teens and parents, and that will take place on June 7th at 6:30, between 6:30 and 7:30 p.m. Registration is required. Then we also have Teen Yoga with Miss Peggy, and that will take place on June 14th at 7:15 p.m. until 8:15 p.m. No experience is required there. And then Chef for a Day, Creative Cooking for Teens. And that will take place on Monday, June 26th, between 4 and 5:30 p.m. I also want to mention the Friends of Tuckahoe Library had their annual fundraiser this weekend. The Westchester Orchestra played at the community center, and it was well attended. We had over 100 people there. A great time was had by all, and I recommend if you guys can make next year, please do so. It's a fun time. And again, I'd also like to congratulate Anthony Fiore for his zoning vote. That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Trustee Alfasi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And first and foremost, certainly I want to congratulate Anthony. You know, as we've spoken offline before this meeting, and I've said it before, and I'm happy to say it publicly, you've always been a gentleman. You've come up to the board, you've disagreed with things, you've brought things to our attention, and you've always been a gentleman, and we truly appreciate that. The 29th of May, we celebrated Memorial Day, and that happened, the VFW posts, we have two of them, one of them in Eastchester, one of them in Tuckahoe, and the American Legion post, which is in Eastchester. They're the community activists, so to speak, that make sure that we observe Memorial Day. They always hold an event, and it was a wonderful event. Mr. Marinella was there. So I think he'd agree. It was a wonderful event. Everyone got up, said a few words. We had high school students basically do the main thing, which was to commemorate folks who have given their all in Eastchester, Tuckahoe, and Bronxville, and they did a wonderful, wonderful job. So that was a great day. If you have the opportunity to come out and do it next year, please do so. It goes fairly quickly, about an hour or so, and it's really a wonderful event.
Thank you. Yeah, I was very sorry I couldn't make it this year, but I want to thank you very much for stepping in. I don't know if a lot of our, or any of our residents realize that our trustee Steve Alfasi is a veteran himself. You were captain in the Air Force, or I don't want to overstep your position here.
Yeah, I was a captain and graduated in the United States Air Force Academy, yes.
Okay, well, thank you for your service. Appreciate that.
It's my honor to have served.
A couple of things I'm going to talk about. First is the Triangle Park parking issue. We had a community meeting out at Triangle Park where we met the residents, and the discussion was all about whether or not there should be parking alongside Triangle Park, along the east side of that park. So our police department sent out a survey, and the results of the survey have come back. There were 18 no's, do not have parking there, and there were 9 yeses. So I'm going to suggest we keep everything as is for right now. I want to talk a little bit about, and I think that's partially why we have such good attendance tonight, the TCE, the Paul Seminella Ecosystems report, and the TCE issue. So I want to give an update from the village board, the Village of Tuckahoe's position on this. This morning, the coalition sent out an email blast with some questions regarding the ecosystems report for testing that was reported in this week's Review Press newspaper. I think that's why it's gained extra interest in the last week. For the record, I got a phone call from Corey Stockton, and he apologized for mistakenly not reporting that the story was about tests that were done 3 to 4 months ago. One was on February 16th, and the other was on March 3rd. He put a correction in this coming week's paper. But the coalition, anyway, they sent out an email blast, and they had some questions. So I'm going to give an answer to some of these questions. First question was, who's in charge of finding the source of the TCE in the air? The answer, the Westchester County Department of Health Air Quality Division. They're located at 145 Huguenot Street in New Rochelle, New York. You will speak to if you feel like calling them, but we're going to have a discussion as to what steps the village has taken. But the representative there is a Miss Natasha Court. Her telephone number is 914-813-5000. Again, that's the Westchester County Department of Health Air Quality Division. The next question in this email was, why is it taking so long to find the answer? Well, that's been frustrating for me, and I've asked the same question. Our environmental vendor, HDR, has a FOIA request out to them for copies of all air discharge information relating to all locations in the village of Tuckahoe. Another question, is the county moving slow to protect the developer? The answer to that is, well, my answer is I doubt it. But anyone from the public can call and ask the county that question for themselves. The next question was, who is leading the charge to protect the residents on this issue? And the Westchester County Department of Health, the Air Quality Division, is responsible for all air quality investigations for locations in Westchester County. The service is provided and paid for by all Westchester County residents through your county property tax bill. The Ecosystems Test Report is in the hands of the Air Quality Division of the Westchester County Department of Health. But interestingly enough, in the last couple of weeks, the village has received a couple of new complaints about spray booth smells down around Marbledale Road, which we have brought to the attention of the County Air Quality Department, and we're going to ask them to report on that as well. But I'm going to actually ask now our village administrator, David Burke. I know he has some updated information on this TCE matter.
Just to kind of elaborate on a few of the things you said, Mr. Mayor. Why we say that the Westchester County DOH is the lead agency, we've taken a view that the village has to do something. New York State also has to do something. So it's been kind of a coordinated effort to look at a lot of this stuff. We've been receiving that foiled information from Westchester County DOH, and we've been looking at it. We haven't received all the information we requested for the facilities on Marbledale, but we've received some, and there's no smoking gun as of yet, I should say. New York State DEC is involved. What they've done is they're looking at some of the remediation sites that have already happened on Marbledale, such as the King's Electronic, ensuring that the proper procedures have been met with some of the monitoring of that. So they've been looking at some of their old files to make sure, and we've just heard that the New York State DEC Division of Air Resources will also be looking into this. Now that I know that we've talked about this ambient air data from the east side of Marbledale that the New York State DEC was doing. I know a lot of people have foiled for that data yet. We have yet to see that data. I talked to Kevin Carpenter a couple times a week, and again today, where that data has just been validated. So that's a very good sign. So hopefully they're going to release that data. But talking with Kevin today, he lets us know that several rounds of data was collected in April. Only one of the 18 samples was slightly over the 2 micrograms per cubic meter level, and that was at 2.3, and that was in the area of the Hall Avenue. So it doesn't necessarily match up with the Simonella report. However, this is the data that the state agencies in Westchester County are looking at, because this is their own collected data. So we see that many of the samples are well below the 2. So a lot of this is very positive. The more data we have, the better information we have to kind of find this. To go ahead on your point, Ms. May, you did say that people have been calling here, and that's all good information also. In talking with a lot of those people, they state that this smell, or this spray booth smell, has been going on for 3 or 4 years now. They're just kind of calling to give us the information of when it is. So we've been trying to take some of that data and pinpoint when they're getting this smell, when's the smell coming across Marbledale. So all that's good information for us to have also. So we know it's been going on for a while now. So, just to kind of wrap up to date, we've looked at permits, some of the foiled information, some of the operations, some of the buildings down there yet. Have not, found the smoking gun, or we haven't found, that one particular source. If it's there, if it's not, we haven't found that yet. But we are coordinating with different state agencies, Westchester County and ourselves, to see what we can do and see if we can find it.
And they're looking at spray booth operations, as we know, as they've told us, right? Right, okay. I want to give a Marbledale Road construction update, and that's because I have told the contractor that we're going to meet on a monthly basis, and we've now had 2 of these meetings. We had one just this past Thursday. And the purpose of the meetings are basically to meet with the contractor. I want him to sit with our building department officials. I think it's important that now that the project has moved from a remediation project into a construction project, that the building department, the building inspector, our code enforcement officer is completely up to speed, and they're both in sync as to what the progress is of the project. All our residents can see now that the project is moved into the construction phase for the restaurant and the hotel. we have been holding these meetings, and I just want to give an update on the scheduling that they gave us at the meeting we had this past Thursday. The first thing is the RIC, what is known as the Rapid Impact Compaction. The developer will be doing this only between the hours of 8 and 5:30. I know that there were some days in which he exceeded 5:30. He has agreed, technically he can do it until 7, but he's agreed to not go beyond 5:30. But the good thing is that he's done this Friday. He said that his work of the rapid impact compaction, that's the loud banging noise that you hear. He said last Thursday, he said it should be done Friday, depending on how much rain, and it looks like it's going to rain most of this week. He said it may bleed into next week, maybe Monday or Tuesday. The street opening work, that's been, anyone who drives down Marbledale Road, you're stopped by all the street opening work that's been going on. He said they have 1 week left, and then they're going to start to, I was surprised to hear this, they're actually going to start the streetscape work and installing the sidewalks that are going to go in front of this property down towards Westie's, right up to his property line. The micropile drilling, that process, he said they're about 25% done with that work, and he anticipates completion in early August. He said they brought a second drill rig in, so he anticipates, he said, about 8 weeks, so I'm thinking early August. And there is still an HDR or a DEC representative on site every day that they're working, and the next BCP community meeting is going to be Wednesday, June 28th, and those are held down at the community center. Just a couple of things that were brought to my attention. There was some chatter that I saw about water leaving the site, going into the new storm sanitary sewer lines that were installed down on Marbledale Road, and that it's going down to Bronxville and it's contaminating Bronxville. So I brought that up to the developer at the meeting on Thursday, and I said, look, so what's the issue here with this water? And he reminded me, actually I kind of forgot about it, but whether it's this project or any project, there is a requirement in the construction standard that all water is retained on site. And he said specifically in this one, he said they got to jump on some of that work in the lateral work in the sanitary sewer lines on the street. He said, but that's all capped off now because obviously they don't have a hotel built yet. And so he said that's capped off, but he said any of the water that is on site, and certainly the water that they're using in that whole micro drilling process, that's all retained on site. They actually recirculate that as sort of a lubricant for the drilling methods that are occurring there. And I said, all right, well, eventually you have to do something with the water. And he said, yeah, you see that big red, there's a big red container. It's a water container. And he said, at the end of the job, they will actually remove that just like they removed all the contaminated soil. So he said there is a, which is, we understand, there's a SWIP program, SWPP or SWIP, and that is a water management program for the construction site, and that's actually handled by Dolph Rockfeld. So, so no water is leaving the site. And so I said, all right, give me the long-term, where do we see this project moving down the road? And he said, well, he said in July, the site grading and leveling should pretty much wrap up, and the land will then be capped with gravel in some areas, concrete in other areas, and blacktop binder in other areas. So it'll be basically all capped out. The landscape areas are going to be installed. They won't be putting plantings in, but they will actually create where these landscape areas are going to be. He said they're going to take the fencing down because it's really not a, once they have all the capping in place, then they'll just have perimeter fencing around where their construction activity is going to be, which is where the two buildings are going to go up. He said that, again, the micropiles will be done in August, and he said right around that time, certainly by the end of August, we will see the actual building coming out of the ground. The steel will be rising, and they'll be starting to erect this building. So that's the update. I thought that was important, and I'm going to continue to report as we have these meetings with the developer. And then finally, just one last thing I want to talk about. I'm actually going to have a conversation with our village attorney. Part of this brownfield cleanup project, there was a lawsuit, as everyone knows, because we're all paying the defense costs for it. an Article 78 lawsuit, and there was on May 26th, Judge Larry Schwartz rendered his decision on the issue. And just to refresh the memory of our public, there are 9 members of our community who filed the lawsuit against the village, the state DEC, and Department of Health in regards to the Marbledale Road Hotel project. So there was a decision that came down, and I'm going to ask our village attorney if he can kind of explain what
Sure,
this decision was.
Absolutely, Mr. Mayor. So as you stated, there was a number of individuals that brought an action against the Planning Board, Department of Health, DEC, and the developer. Can you hear me now? Is that okay? And what happened was, closer? Okay, you got it. So what happened was, they brought this action, challenging this decision, asking a judge to overturn the decision. As part of that lawsuit, what happened was, a day or so after the building department issued the first building permit for remediation, the plaintiffs or petitioners in this action brought what's called an order to show cause, seeking a preliminary injunction. A preliminary injunction is asking the judge to immediately put a stop on the project while the case is pending before the judge. And that's the decision we just received from the judge. It was Judge Schwartz, and it was dated May 26, 2017. And what I'll do is I'll explain exactly what he said and what his conclusions were.
Okay.
So again, this is the decision on the petitioners or plaintiffs' application seeking to stop the project immediately. I'm going to read parts of it, and I'll kind of explain where it goes with it. It says, because the petitioners have failed to show by clear and convincing evidence that they are entitled to a preliminary injunction, their application is denied. He goes through the standards of what they would have to meet to have that approved. And the standards are, it says, a party is entitled to a preliminary injunction only where it demonstrates, 1, a probability of success on the merits, 2, danger of irreparable harm in the absence of an injunction, and 3, a balance of equities in its favor. And then what he does, he goes through each test now. So the first one is a probability of success on the merits. So that basically that means, is there a probability that the plaintiffs are going to win this action on the merits, on the actual case itself? And his conclusion to that, the first standard, was the court finds petitioner failed to show a likelihood of success on the merits by clear and convincing evidence. It was rational for the village, when he refers to village, it's really the planning board, as part of its lead agency state environmental quality review, to rely on the expertise of the DEC in approving Billwin's project, which included a monitoring and remediation plan. So on number 1, it failed. Number 2, a danger of irreparable harm in the absence of an injunction. So what that means is if he does not issue this immediate injunction or this immediate stop, that there'd be irreparable harm. He concluded on that. It says, petitioner's expert affidavits dispute the methods approved by DEC in the village, but fail to demonstrate that irreparable harm would occur by the continued remediation of the site as approved by the DEC and the village in reliance on DEC's expertise. So that one failed also. Then the third one was a balancing of the equities. Is it equitable? It kind of gives the court a little more discretion. And he found on that one, the court finds that any potential issues in the process by which a negative declaration was issued, considering the BCP approval, is outweighed at this stage of the proceedings by the DEC and village's interest in remediating the contamination at the site without delay to protect the public's health. So that was that was the third prong or third standard that had failed. Mm-hmm. And then in conclusion, he says, for these reasons, petitioner's application for a preliminary injunction is denied. So that's where we are procedurally now. He did not put a stop on this project, so the developer can continue along with whatever process he's going down there for building. This is not the ultimate decision of the judge, but that will come probably, I think everything's either submitted or we're putting a surreply in. A surreply is just paperwork in the process. And then the judge will make an ultimate decision on the entire case. But this is the decision on the plaintiff's or petitioner's application before the judge to stop the project. And for those reasons, he denied that.
Okay, all right, good, thank you.
Question.
Oh, sure.
Gary.
I'm sorry.
Do you have a tally on what the legal fees, the legal spend has been to the village to date for the defense of that
Must be
action?
over $200,000 now, I think, Mr.
Yep.
Burke?
Yeah, I apologize, I don't have the exact number.
I don't have the number. I believe it's in excess of $200,000
Yeah, I know.
defending this.
Just,
Did I hear that right?
I think you did.
so that's.
We're in the hole for $200,000.
Taxpayers are funding that. So
That's
everyone
correct. The
whose
planning board
name
was
is on that
sued.
petition, that is being funded by Tuckahoe taxpayers, every penny of that $200,000. So I think that should be on the record, and it should reflect that. That will not be recovered, for something that was tried and has been found by the judge to, I know it hasn't been fully and finally determined on the merits, but the preliminary injunction has been denied. So I think it's important to recognize that when we
So
speak
true.
about fiscal accountability. Yes.
I'll tell you what, we're just going to get to the second opportunity, so give you 1 second. Anybody else from the board?
My concern is, this is, still continues to go on, and all I see is our meter, it keeps on rolling. I mean, we're potentially in the hook for another $50,000, $75,000 in legal fees just to continue to
I hope not,
respond to
because we
these.
have a $250,000 garbage truck that we got to buy, so. Thank you, Gary. Appreciate that.
You're welcome. Any other questions by the board?
Thanks.
I know we just got this decision, so thank you. All right, that's going to bring us to the second opportunity. So, yes, ma'am. Just give us your name, please, and address.
8 Henry Street, Tuckahoe, New York. I was just wondering if the village planning controls, what does it mean? I don't know. What could be the ultimate decision? What does that mean, or what is the leeway?
Well, ultimately, the challenge was that the petitioner plaintiffs brought the action to overturn the planning board's decision. So that's the ultimate decision. This one was to stop the project
Immediately.
immediately up until his ultimate decision.
But his ultimate decision can be a stop to
I
the.
don't want to,
can,
yeah,
cannot.
it could be anything.
It could be anything. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to address? Yes, sir.
Anthony Fiore, 3 Bendon Place, Tuckahoe. Oh, here we go. I just want to thank the board for making this appointment for me. I hope to do a very good job for the village. Can't wait to get started. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ellen Epstein, Yonkers, 247 Parkview Avenue. Just a quick question on the third part of that legal. Is this working?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, just speak right into
Okay.
it, really close.
All right. On the third part of the decision, the portion that spoke about the town wanting to do the remediation as quickly as possible, because if that was not done, they denied the injunction because if it wasn't done as quickly as possible, that could be a danger. I'm not sure I understand.
He didn't say that.
Okay.
And again, I'm
What
just
was the
reading off
third
his
portion?
decision.
What was the third portion of the decision?
I'll read you what he says, because I
Okay.
don't want to put words in his mouth. Or,
Okay.
It says, the court finds that any potential issues in the process by which the negative declaration was issued, considering the BCP approval, is outweighed at this stage of the proceeding by the DEC and village's interest in remediating the contamination at the site without delay to protect the public's health.
Okay, that was what I was thinking about, because the injunction took a very long time to have this decision made, and of course, all through this time, you had the work going on in terms of clearing the area. But it does say in the decision that the judge gave you, at this stage of the proceedings, in other words, from the current date, it didn't make sense that the town was looking to get the remediation done as quickly as possible until I heard him out there, because this site has been there for how many years?
50
Not
years.
being done.
Mhm.
So I didn't understand the context of
Sure.
that statement. Thank you. Thank you for the thank you.
Mhm.
Come
Yes,
on.
sir. Yes, please.
I actually woke
up this morning.
Just please give us your name and
Yeah,
your
oh,
address.
John Mariani, 8 Henry Street. I actually woke up this morning hoping that I was going to be able to bring in something that would be of true interest to everybody, not in any way, shape, or form an antagonistic entry, but an amiable entry that would show both sides of a story very relevant to what is going on with the toxic waste site here, somewhere else in America, and it's beautifully done. And so a few weeks ago, I asked the gentleman back there who does the video on these board meetings if I could possibly show a video. And at that time, he said, "Well, I have to know in advance, and if you tell me in advance, maybe we can arrange it so we can show them up here." And I said, "Okay, fine." So this morning, I said, "Okay, I'm going to call him and see if it can be arranged."
You're talking about Wade, our video guy? Or is that the person you're talking about?
You said his name because that's part of this story.
Okay. I'm sorry. Okay.
I wanted to therefore contact him.
Okay.
Possibility, because I'm sure technically he is very good at this sort of thing. So I called Village Hall and asked. I had hoped that Camille would have gotten on the line because I don't know who got on the line at first. It seemed to be, he had a very deep voice. It seemed to be a man, and I said, "This is John Mariani. I would like to know what the name of the fellow who takes the video." He says, "Hold on." He came back and he mumbled something and then hung up. I then called back and got a recording. I said, "Could you please tell me the name of the person who does the video?" A little while later, I got a call from David Burke, who's paid $138,000 for a job. I'm still a little bit foggy on what he does. And I said, "David, what is the name of the guy? Just offhand, what is the name of the guy who does the video?" "I'm not going to tell you that." "Correct me if..." "Oh, you didn't say that?" "Oh, like that. Okay." He said it. "I am not going to tell you the name of that person." And I said, "Why not?" He said, "Because I don't have to tell you about what his name is." "Well, his name is Wayne Hutchinson, if anybody cares. I just asked."
He's one of 3 part-time employees we have who actually videotape our meetings.
Part-time employee, meaning
Of course.
he gets paid.
Mhm.
He
Pardon
gets
me?
paid by the village?
Yeah, I would.
Not a volunteer, okay.
Mhm.
So the first question of several here in this story is, why would the village administrator not want to tell a citizen of the village of Tuckahoe the name of the man who records these proceedings? I didn't understand that. And I said, "Well, David, I would like to show a video this evening." He says, "No, you cannot show a video." And I said, "Well, why not?" He says, "Well, because you can say anything you want, but you can't show a video." And I said, "Well, developers get up here all the time with big posters. We have submitted photographs. Marbledale has brought up maps, show everything. I mean, we put them there, and Mr. Hutchinson takes photographs of these, and these go out." And he said, "Well, I don't know what's on it." I said, "I would be glad to submit it to everybody here." Here it is, right here. Matter of fact, I have it here too. And I've got it on this one.
Well, let me just, I'll save you a little bit of time because I'm not going to, this meeting's not going to run very late tonight. So I'll just save you a little bit of time here. Any presentation that occurs at a village board meeting is at the discretion of the mayor and the board of trustees. Actually, I think it's the mayor. Gary, what's?
2-3 of the,
Okay,
not
all
that
right.
booking code.
All right, good. Well, that's why you ask an attorney.
It says rules for conduct.
I'm going to ask the attorney too about this.
It says
No, you can
rules
ask
of-
me, who will ask the attorney.
Correct.
Thank you.
It's rules
And
of
you know that.
conduct, and
Mhm.
then
I'm sorry, please. I didn't mean to
I don't know
interrupt
how
you.
much more I can elaborate on.
Mhm.
It's pretty
Go
straightforward.
ahead.
It says rules of conduct of village board meetings. That's a section of it. It says the village board of trustees shall determine and prescribe the rules for conduct of its meetings and the order of business thereat, period.
Good.
That's the whole section.
So the order of business of, you want to present a home movie or a movie, I don't know what it is that you would like us. So what you can do is if you have it on a flash drive, you can hand it to the village clerk. She will make sure that I get a copy of it, or if you have 5 copies of it, please. We'll all go ahead and view it, and we will decide whether or not it's something that we would like to go ahead and view on our cable access channel, and that's
So
exactly
why-
what
all right,
this
I'll
is.
ask you, and perhaps you want to
Sure.
ask the village attorney, why does my request to show a 3-minute video differ from photographs, diagrams? Well,
I can explain
please.
that. Yep. I'm sorry. I
Under the
don't
fir-
mean to
under the
interrupt.
First Amendment, on which videos, television, radio, 18-minute gaps are certainly part of the First Amendment.
I'm sorry. Yes.
I'm not an
Yeah.
expert on First Amendment.
Yeah, no, I
don't
get
see
it.
this
Yeah,
as
I
a
get
First
it.
Amendment issue.
Right, yeah.
This is this board determining how it conducts its
Right.
meeting. They want to see something from the developer that they want to have elaborated so it can get out there to the public. That's fine. If they don't have, they can tell the developer they don't want to see it, just as you could with any resident. So I don't
And
see it
we
as a
have-
First Amendment issue.
Right. We have special presentations. We'll get some people who'll say, you know what, I'd like to do a special presentation here at a village board meeting. There are presentations by applicants before the zoning and planning board. You see those, that's what you're making reference to. You see those, yep, absolutely, right. So those are applications that are made before the board.
What is there about this that you feel?
I have no idea what you have in your
I
hand.
know. Well, why would you just dismiss it completely?
I didn't say I'm dismissing it. I said, would you please give it to us so we could review it?
What I'm asking is why cannot the public see it? Because when I asked David Burke, if I give this to you, he says, we will look at it. And I said, then what happens to it? You just discard it? Will the public ever see it? And he says, I don't have to answer that.
I'll make it easy for you. Give us a copy of this movie, the video, whatever it is that you have. I will make sure that myself and the board members get an opportunity to review it. Is it? I don't know what it is. Is it a home movie? I have no idea what you're going to.
Jackson's not exposing her breast. This is relevant
Okay.
to.
Mr.
Yeah,
Mariani.
let's stop right
if-
there.
If I may.
Please give it to the village clerk.
If
and-
I may, maybe I can. I'm not a First Amendment expert either, but I do think the government has the right to restrict time, place, and manner, of what a citizen can go ahead and say. I don't think whether or not we have this restriction or not. I guess we'll determine. But I don't think that if you went before the city council in New York City, you can go up and say, here's my thing, I want you to play it now.
You don't think it's not the same as whether it is legal?
It's my educated guess, okay? I think I'm probably right on that. So although,
I'm a journalist, and I really do know the First Amendment cold.
okay, so then you're familiar with time, place, and manner, right? The restrictions the government can play, so you know the answer already.
Well, no, but I know that also if, whether it's a village board or the President of the United
Okay.
States who wants to stop bans.
I tried to explain it, but I guess you know better.
Why don't you
All right,
submit
thank
it
you.
and we'll consider it?
Yeah.
I think
Well-
that's probably best.
Well, I'd be kind of happy to do that, but I'd rather submit it to the public to take a look at, because I don't think you'd have any particular necessarily interest.
I think
in
you can
seeing
do
it.
that.
I would like to ask.
If you want,
there-
not through us.
What you have just said is maybe appeal to the village court, to just simply get a question, just get an answer to whether or not.
Well, as you know, that it wouldn't be to the village court. It would be you, if you do not like the decision of the board, you would take an appeal to the Supreme Court, just as the plaintiffs did in this other action. If that's what you.
Why could I not ask the village court for an opinion?
Because
He
it's
is a
not in their
judge.
jurisdiction. It's not their purview. It's not their jurisdiction
The
to.
jurisdiction gets in an awful lot of things. I mean, what is the jurisdiction?
Well, unfortunately, we didn't make up the rules.
What
We
is the
didn't-
jurisdiction that says that David Burke cannot tell me the name of the man back there? What is that about?
We're just going off too far on a tangent to answer that.
That's not a. Is that? Did I go over that? Is that a really tough question?
He's a
Yeah,
village
we pay his
employee.
$38,000 salary, but $5,000 to drive around, and he cannot tell me, or Camille cannot tell me, and I'm not blaming you, the name of the man in that booth?
Why is it such a big issue? Why are we spending 20 minutes talking about this? What is the point? Can we please get to the point?
I got to the point about.
It's an attitude. I want to know what's on the video. I want to know what's on that USB drive as
You guys are so lucky. If you have seen what's going on in village and town halls around America with placards, with yelling, you lie, you lie. I never say any of that. You have this feeling that I have an attitude when I came in here simply to request, could I speak to the man behind that window and get his name to see if this could be shown up there. And I was denied even the name of that man who is a village employee.
Okay, but
We-
now that
we
we
get
have
it.
that name,
get it.
can we please
understand
move
that
on?
You don't appreciate the way he responded to you, Mr. Mariani. We do. We understand that, and we do understand that there's a video that you would like for the village to see, potentially, and we're willing to consider it if you hand it in. I would like to know what else, what other content that there is that you have for the board this evening.
Well, I thought I made my point, but apparently...
No, I think you have. I mean, I think I get your point. We get your point clearly.
I haven't gotten an answer from either the village attorney or anybody up there as to whether Mr. Burke responded to me in a, forget a cordial manner, but even in a manner that is responsible. If I ask, what is the name of the employee who picks up my garbage? And he tells me, I'm not going to tell you. What is the basis for his refusing me, Gary?
How is that a legal question? I don't understand that.
I'm just asking what is the basis
But
for
you're
his
asking a
refusing?
village attorney that question. It's not a legal
Okay,
question.
I'm
It's not a
sorry,
legal
I'll
issue.
ask you, and
Okay.
maybe
I don't-
you can answer.
So
What is
here,
the basis for him
right, so
refusing
your
to
question,
a village employee's name?
okay, so let me just take a half a step back. Your question is, do you as a resident of the village of Tuckahoe have a right to the name of every employee who gets paid by the village of Tuckahoe? Or I shouldn't say every, any or all employees who are employed by the village of Tuckahoe. Safe to say that's your question?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I don't know the answer to that question. I will get an answer for you.
Gary wouldn't know?
I'll get an answer for you. I don't want to go ahead and say, yeah, absolutely, I'll give you the names of everyone right now and find out that there's some personnel, there's something that we jeopardize that we're not supposed to. I don't, honestly, I don't know. This isn't a game here.
You said before, please, you said.
Yeah. I call his name Wade all the
Don't
time.
ask-
That's why I
don't
said
ask
Wade.
Gary these questions. Ask me. and
Okay.
I will ask Gary, but now you're saying, oh, I'll find out about it.
I will find out and you'll get an answer. That's the answer to your question. Thank you. Next, please.
In that case,
Melba.
May I submit this?
Sure. Please give it to the village clerk.
And what mostly would you put this on? No, I don't want to give it to them because they have no interest in actually looking at it. I'd rather give it to them.
Okay.
Hi, Melba Caliano, Westview Avenue. In response to Mr. Mariani's question and the apparent lack of knowledge that we've heard so far about whether or not we're concerned with the release of the names of people that are paid by the taxpayers of the village of Tuckahoe, the answer to that is look them up on the website. Look them up on Google. Look them up on the state employee list. Look them up on the county employee list. I regularly Google that. All their names are on it. Part-time, full-time. It's in the public realm. It's on the internet. It's on the web. There is no privacy. Google it. You'll find the answers. That's the answer to the question that none of you seems to know, and the village attorney doesn't know.
Melba, that wasn't the
Google
question.
it.
Melba, I would have
Google
answered
it.
that. There's FOIL laws.
Yeah, that's all right,
You
Gary. That's
didn't-
okay.
Thank you for enlightening
Next.
us.
Mhm. Sorry. Sorry, Gary.
Thanks so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. If you just give us your name and address, please.
My name is Allison Samter, and I live at 32 Park Drive.
Allison Cantor, you said?
Samter.
Okay.
S-A-M-T-U-R. So I'm kind of new to, actually, this is my first meeting here.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have two children. We're new to Eastchester, 5 and 3 years old. My daughter's in kindergarten at Waverly, and I could cry right now. I'm not sure if you're aware of what's going on Facebook Moms or.
Oh, I watch it every day. Trust me.
Well, there's a lot of kids in my children's class who are not even going out to play for recess. They have notes to their teachers to stay indoors, not to let their kids outside. Okay, this is a major concern for our children that there's TCE levels. I just got this email tonight, and my kids weren't even sleeping. I left. So I had to be here tonight because I read this email from the PTA, okay, to all the Waverly parents. It says, recent test results show some contamination levels of TCE near Waverly School. I don't hear this being addressed. Like I said, I'm going to be frank with you. I'm new to this. But I'm hearing it, and I'm hearing it, I'm hearing it. And I'm planning on sending my daughter to the rec camp this summer to be with her friends. And now I'm reconsidering. I'm even reconsidering moving out of Eastchester. It's that big of a deal that I feel the community of moms are talking about because of these levels. Why would I endanger my child to go to school to possibly get cancer? Okay? So I want to understand a little bit more about what this email means coming from Waverly PTA.
Right.
What is the school doing about this? What is the community doing about this? I am shocked beyond belief. I thought the parking lot and the whole entire area would be packed. So I'm also very surprised and saddened to see that you mentioned that this is a crowded room. I was shocked. And like I said, I should have been at many of the other meetings as well. Could you please inform me a little bit
I
more
will.
about
I'll do my
children?
best. And please, what you have to, first of all, you should really be talking to the school administration. Dr. Moran and I, we talk on a, I'm not going to say weekly basis, but certainly a couple of times a month. First of all, the school is part of the school district, not part of the Village of Tuckahoe. So we don't have any authority over the school district, but I make it my personal responsibility to keep Dr. Moran very much up to date. And I actually keep the Mrs. Doyle, the principal of that school, Waverly School, up to date also. I keep her in the email chain also. There's tons of information. There is the PTA, at one point they were putting, flyers in kids' backpacks, a toxic symbol. There's a tremendous amount of information, and I feel so bad for somebody such as yourself who said, you know what, I'm just hearing this line of messaging, which sounds just absolutely terrible. Why would you live here? Why would you put your kids in the school? As you said, you haven't been tracking the situation for a long period of time. We have been processing all the information. The information that we process, which is through our environmental experts. And we have two different issues here. We're going to talk about the issue you're bringing up versus it's not combined with the brownfield site, okay? There's a clear distinction here. The issue you're talking about was, we just talked about, that was the TCE issue that we were discussing, that I was having a dialogue with our village administrator. There was the school district and the town of Eastchester hired an independent company to go ahead and take some air sampling in that area back in February and March 3rd. The results came back. One of the levels was actually elevated. And so here you have a private company that the school and the town hired to take this air sampling testing. And I want you to calm down now because I want you to understand this, all right? So they take these, they collect this data, they reveal their report based on that. Once they revealed the report, it was the one of the things that the company, the engineer who did the sampling, he said, look, this is not, no scientist says 100% it's this or that, but he said he recommends or he suggests or he believes, whatever the exact term was, that the one elevated reading, which happened on two different dates, was coming from an industrial source on Marbledale Road. So if you've been down Marbledale Road, we have auto body shops, we have paint, we have all sorts of businesses down on Marbledale Road. So when that was brought to our attention, the town gives us that information, as well as you're getting the information, the school is getting the information. So the first thing we say is, okay, what do we do? Well, the first thing we did is we don't have an air monitoring division. We have a two-person building department here. So we hired a company to go ahead and basically manage that issue for us. Great, so now we have somebody who is an expert in the field, and we say to them, okay, you handle this and tell us what we should be doing. Now I'm on the phone with the State Department of Health. Oh my goodness, it's going back a little bit, but multiple conversations with the State Department of Health, the State DEC, because I'm talking to them anyway with the other issue with the brownfield project that's on Marbledale Road. So my question way back when is, look, what does the mayor do when somebody says, hey, you have an elevated problem of some air issue in your community, whether it's along Marbledale Road or if it's the train station or any place in the community, your backyard or wherever it is. What do you do? You know, we obviously, these little villages and towns, we don't have air monitoring divisions. So what do? So they said, okay, the first step is there is an air monitoring division that you pay for. It's in the Westchester County Department of Health, the Air Monitoring Division. That's what we pay, and we're paying for it in our tax bill. Great, okay. From there, if they cannot manage and handle this issue, then they will go ahead and ask for assistance from the State Department of Health. So I speak to the State Department of Health. I was on a conference call with our village administrator probably 2 months ago, and we had the DEC and the DOH commissioners on the phone, and I said, look, is this, you have the report. We gave them the report, or whether we gave it to them or they had it. It's on our website, the report. And they said, look, we've analyzed the report, and they said, we can't really speak to another independent report, testing labs report. We will speak to our own data findings. But they said, but you're asking us to give us your, interpretation of this. And they said, we feel you don't have a hazardous condition right now. So I said, well, that's what I need to know. I need to know, do we need to block off? Do you need to move? Do you need to not send your kids to school? What's the issue here? So they said, that's clearly not the status of this. So I said, okay, so how do we go ahead and come up with another follow-up to this? Who's in charge of that? So the county's in charge of that. Now, the county didn't take the test, if you think about this. The town and your school district hired somebody to take the test. So what happens now is that the county and the state, they say, look, you know what? Basically, we have tested the air in that area, the state has. And they said, we're going to wait until we get our test results, because we're not going to go ahead and say that it's gospel based on somebody else's independent test results. That's what Mr. Burke talked about tonight. We actually just got today, I think it was. How did they determine that? The TCE, the air monitoring that the state did, what did they say? It was validated today, or what was the exact term?
Yeah, late last week validated. That's
Okay.
what we've all been waiting for, is the validation of the data, and it's going to be released soon.
Okay. So the state did testing, not the town or Board of Ed's company. The state did testing after those results came out. They look at the test results and they tell us on the phone, well, look, we're looking at it. You don't have to move. You don't have to go ahead and shut your borders down. But there's a process that takes them a while, and it's taken them quite a while, because they did this testing in April, and we're now in June. It takes them a while to have their labs process all of this data to validate it, as he said, and now we're waiting for a document that'll say what exactly was in the air that they tested in that neighborhood. So they've told us that they're very low. There was only one, as David said, I think it was 2.3. 2.3. Everything else was below whatever the threshold is, and I apologize not knowing that.
Was that found by Waverly, that one high level?
It was actually found right by the,
The one that was 2.3, that's the highest one they found. That was at the end of Hall, near where Mr. Simonello found the elevated levels.
right. So did they take samples on the playground of Waverly and I'm not sure exactly where the samples, they've told us that it's in that neighborhood. So I can't say, with any certainty that I know right now where they took it. We will, as soon as we have that information, all the information in this whole process is posted on the Village of Tuckahoe's website. You should look there. It's incredibly mind-boggling when you look at the quantity of information that's there, to try and understand and interpret, too, a lot of the documents that you're looking at. It's taken us, 2 years just to kind of somewhat figure out what we're looking at there. But I get what you're saying. I'm on the same Facebook pages, so I read it every day. I'm getting the same email threads from the Marbledale Road Environmental Coalition and, all the fear, panic, and mayhem, and I get that. I understand. If I just moved into the village, I'd be like, oh my God, why did I even move here? I understand that. I can only tell you that, what, I'm the mayor of Tuckahoe. This is the village board. We have done our best to give as much give all the information that we have disposed to us to the public, and that there is absolutely nothing that has given us cause to have the panic and the, the degree of upsetness that I see you have tonight. That's the best I can do. I'm sorry. Hopefully that helps you. Okay. Mm-hmm.
One last side point of my
Sure.
concern is just the time lapse sometimes. If there is something that is to be found by outside other sources or such, the concern is, what about all this time that the children all have been in school while they're doing this? They've been working on this project already.
Well, that's a separate issue now. We'll talk about that conversation. You're talking about the construction site, the brownfield site.
Yes, I'm just talking about anything that's going to cause harm to our children.
Right.
At Waverly. Anything in the air or the levels that could be harmful to our children.
Well, that site's been monitored, as we know. It's been monitored throughout the process, and they're actually at the point now where they're capping the site and they're putting a building up. They have this whole, and we don't have the village's environmental engineer doesn't come to these meetings because really the meeting you should go to is, are you aware that the developer has brownfield project meetings at our community center? I'm not sure if you're aware of that. Okay, those you want to go to, because that's where you go to that meeting, you ask the question to the scientists who are managing the site right then and there, and you say, look, these questions that you're posing to us, you definitely want to ask. It's the developers' representatives, it's all the scientists can give you the answer to those. Clearly, we're not scientists. All right, thank you. Sure.
Dan Chiltern, 46 Madison Road, Scarsdale. Just before I forget, because a lot of stuff's been bouncing around. So you said who is taking the readings, and who are the scientists that you're talking about that discuss the brownfield cleanup? Is that a company that's hired by the developer?
Well, the DEC, the state, your agent, our agency, the state DEC, is the one who took these air sampling.
No, I'm talking about for the brownfield site, for the construction project, the hotel.
The same agencies, actually, they're the ones who are monitoring all the activities on the site, all the remediation activities, which is soil and air. I think it's soil. It's all being done by the New York State. It's under the Brownfield Cleanup Program. It's the New York State DEC. And DOH is involved in that also.
It's not like the developer is subcontractor.
Well, the developer has to.
Some contractor that's doing that, or
the developer.
The third-party inspector. It's the state is involved with that particular project.
The developer has to hire his own environmental firm who's actually managing the activity that's on the site. The state, there's two things that happen that are not developer funded, we'll say. There is, the village has our own environmental firm who actually processes all the information, all the environmental information that's generated from the BCP site. We then process that info and we post it on our website. The state DEC has a physical presence there also. So I guess to say who is the manager of it, is that kind of what you're asking? I would say that the management is shared by HDR and DEC. They're sharing it. One of those representatives are there every day, one or the other, for sure.
Okay, and everything that's been happening on that site, they've gone through, I's are dotted, T's are crossed, like everything is being done and executed.
Has to be.
The way it's supposed to be done.
It has to be.
So that which departments did you say that was?
It's the New York State DEC and the Department of Health, DOH, as well as our firm. And you can get all this on our, if you go to our website, you go to the first page on our website, there's a link there. It says I think special projects, and then you click on that, and it says the brownfield cleanup. It brings you to, lots and lots of information.
Okay. And when is those brownfield meetings?
The next one is June 28th. June 28th.
And then also, so for the TCE issue, what were you saying about Westchester?
That's Westchester County Air Department of Health Air Monitoring Division.
So they're involved with it, because when you said the state, is that the state?
No, that's county. That's county. That's a separate issue. They're actually working. They're working on the TCE elevated reading on Hall Avenue, which is not part of the brownfield. So there's two separate questions that you're talking about, two separate issues. Whole Avenue is up by Waverly School.
So why are they? What caused that to start happening? You know, up there, like the TCE readings up there. Was it related? It's not related to that project.
No, what caused it was the town and the school district hired a independent company to take air sampling all around Waverly School because there was.
This project, like that's what kind of got them to.
Well, the reason why they did it is because there was a lot of people who were, this actually was started last summer. There was a lot of people who were concerned. There was email threads going out. There was Facebook posting saying that the project is going to have an impact on children at the Waverly School. So the school district said, you know what? We get that the state DEC is managing it. The town and the school board talked to the state agencies. They said, okay, we're comfortable with what they've told us, but as an extra degree of comfort for our residents in the school district and the town, we're going to go ahead and hire somebody independently to go ahead and take testing. So that's where it came from.
That was a private company.
Yes.
So what about Westchester Department of Air Quality? Are they
Because when the report, no, well, they may, we're not really sure, but when the report came out, we made sure that they got it, and as we mentioned tonight, the county, as well as now the state, is going to work with the county to go ahead and follow up, and we're still trying to understand what, if anything, they need to do based on the ecosystems report that was done.
So, I mean, it would just make sense, right, for Westchester County air monitoring to, look at their own county and take readings if there's an issue going on.
Well, that's a position I take. I paid my county tax bill, so that's absolutely the position I take.
So when is the expected date for that to, take place?
I don't have an answer for that tonight. I don't know.
Who's the person that you said you talked
That is,
to? Natasha Court or something?
yeah, hold on.
She would be the one who's gonna kind of orchestrate that, lead the charge, I guess.
Yeah, Natasha Court. You want the phone number?
Yeah, I know. It's, oh, here we are. 813-5000. They're in New Rochelle, Huguenot Street. It's the Westchester County Department of Health Air Quality Division. 813-5000. Thank you. Understood. We understand that. Thank you.
Appreciate your concern.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else?
John Rabius, 62 Chestnut Street, and I am a member of the Marbledale Coalition. You brought up earlier the money that's been spent. Hello?
There you go.
Is this thing
You
on?
just got to speak in closer, that's all.
You brought up the money earlier that had to be spent by the village to defend this lawsuit. And the reason the lawsuit exists is because the village was not doing anything to protect the residents of the community. In addition to that money that you've spent, we've spent our own money in testing that we asked the village to do that was never done. And maybe part of the reason that the judge didn't see any reason to enforce the injunction, which I don't understand 3 months later how that would be proper timing. The reason for the injunction was to stop the impending actions. I don't really understand the process, but that's neither here nor there. No testing was done to see if there was any impact on the community until the community themselves acted. Now, had the judge had that information, maybe he would have had a different interpretation. I'm not sure. But one of the things that maybe had been a problem through this entire process is, again, the misinterpretation of information and manipulation of facts and data, and we've discussed that many times. And I'm hoping that we're going to clarify all of that tonight. It was testing, again, as I mentioned, was done by the coalition and also paid for by the coalition and then also paid for by parents at Waverly. Multiple tests that show that this site is in fact impacting the community. Now, again, you mentioned, I mean, I'm trying not to laugh. You mentioned that it's possibly another site or another source. You mentioned the body shop again. There's no TCE in the body shop, and there's no. I worked in a body shop. I know the odors that come out of there, and that's not this, and none of it is TCE. And let's keep in mind that there are many other chemicals coming off the site. It's not just TCE. We're focusing on the one because this gets so confusing. Again, the other part that no one wants to consider is the synergistic effect of all of these chemicals on all of these people, especially the children and the elderly, who are much more sensitive receptors, and also women. And everything points to women and children coming down with symptoms first. So I'm going to distribute this for you. You guys all have copies.
Thanks.
If anything, I'm hoping we're going to clarify the impact on the community and the justification for the alarm that we have raised. Everything that the village has done, I mean, you fought against us. We've asked for additional testing. You refused. You fought it every step of the way. So then we produced testing. You fought that testing. You disputed the results of that testing. So this is probably a good night to discuss this, because with us tonight is Tim Minich from Minich and Scotto. He is from the firm that conducted some of the testing, and he can clarify all of this information, whether it was the testing that Minich and Scotto did or ecosystems that was done by the school. So I present to you Tim Minich.
Yeah. Mr. Minich, I just want to be clear. I understand that you are an environmental expert. Could you just tell me your capacity?
Yes, my name is Tim Minich with Minich and Scotto.
Okay.
I'm an atmospheric scientist, master's degree meteorologist also.
Got it. Hired by the Marbledale Road Environmental Coalition.
Actually, no.
Okay.
Right now I'm representing parents of certain students of the Waverly School.
Okay, got it.
That's who hired us.
I'm assuming you're going to make a presentation?
I'm going to discuss what you just got.
Okay, which I'm not going to actually be able to interpret for you, because you didn't give us the benefit tonight of having our environmental engineer here, who would have been able to interpret what you're giving us.
With all due respect, I think I can lay this out in such
Okay,
a manner.
I'll do my best to try and understand, but please realize that, as you know, we do have the village has an environmental engineering firm.
Well, I understand that.
Okay.
And I submitted affidavits, and the Mike Musso and company was anything but objective. They absolutely trashed me and my company in the affidavits, as you well know, sir.
You're
So
talking
I
about
wish
in the
that-
lawsuit affidavit?
I beg your pardon?
In the affidavits in the lawsuit?
Yes.
Got it, okay, understood,
thank you.
okay.
So, if you will, like I said, we were hired by parents of the Waverly School. And there were 4 pieces of paper that you have, and 2 of them summarize the results for TCE. By the way, this is only TCE, okay? As John Rabius just said, there are myriad chemicals there, and the synergistic effects is something that's really needs to be looked at. However, I'm only going to summarize results of TCE. And when I'm finished, I'm sure that every single person who has an objective, open mind, layman or not, will understand that the site, the brownfield site, is the source of the TCE. So if you'll allow me, thank you.
You got to really speak right into the microphone. Is the green button on? Yeah, okay, you got to really speak right into it, directly into it. Or you can hold it, sure.
All right, is that better?
Oh, much better. Yep.
All right, that's better now. Okay. So we have 4 figures here. The first one and the third one I'd like to talk about first. Those are the 2 figures that summarize the TCE results that Ecosystem Strategies performed. Now, Mr. Mayor, you asked me my credentials, my qualifications. I told you I'm an atmospheric scientist and a meteorologist. You certainly wouldn't want me to do groundwater sampling, would you? No, you'd want a geologist. And so, an engineer has no business doing this study. There are so many fundamental flaws. Right off the bat, there was no upwind sample taken. Yet, Mr. Simonelli, I'm sorry if I mispronounced his name, concludes that the levels of TCE are consistent with what's in normal industrial areas, yet didn't take an upwind sample. Dr. Don Hughes has already showed that the highest concentrations out of 200 samples that the DEC has taken is 1.4 micrograms TCE throughout the state of New York. So this kind of discussion is absolutely ridiculous. So let's go to what was concluded here. Let's look at the maps. The first one, by the way, Mr. Simonelli did not put the wind direction. You don't do an air sampling program without putting the wind. However, we went back to the Westchester County Airport for the first sample on February 16th, and we had our own Met Tower on the third page, March 3rd. And quite well, the winds were just like they showed. From the northwest on the first day, Mr. Ecosystems did the work, and on the second day from the northwest. Now, on the first day, in his report, he says that round 1 was intended to be a background when there was no activity or nominal activities on site. And the second campaign, which was, again, the third map, I probably should have put them in a different sequence, so I apologize for that. But the third map, March 3rd, he said in his report, and I will quote, okay, round 2 was conducted during the excavation of impacted materials intended to be disposed of site, which could potentially release elevated concentrations of VOCs. In other words, that was supposed to be the remediation itself. Well, if you look at what we wrote on his map, we did this map over. That's not his map. I have to say that. The on-site activity was nominal at best. It was the same that we did the day before. The only activity that was done on March 3rd was source area 1, and I apologize again, if you turn to the second page, you'll see source area 1, and I'll get into that discussion in just a second. But that's where the only intrusive activity was on March 2nd and March 3rd. And there was no evidence of TCE from that part of the site. So to say that that was representative of the remediation is absolutely not true, and in fact represents best the baseline condition. So we're seeing 12 and 14 coming off the site twice during baseline conditions. That means the site's not being disturbed. Now, let me go back. The first day, February 16th, on the first page, we see the 12. It's been argued that that 12 was coming from somewhere other than the site. All of the records, all of the soil gas data, all of the downhole data, everything, all kinds of data shows that the TCE is in the northern half of the site. If you look at that wind direction, you will see that that 12 is pretty much downwind of the area where that TCE is expected to exist. And that would make perfect sense for the Waverly School at .22 and the non-detects to the north and the south, because if it's a small area, that plume will only be so wide. So that's perfectly consistent. Okay, now, again, please go to the third figure. Here, the wind is a little more northerly, but it's still from the northwest. And this wind was measured by our meteorological tower that we had on site up on the ridge, but that's where we had our Met Tower. Now we have, this is where the 14 is. And you can see the wind direction is a little more northerly, which gave a reading at the bottom of 0.69. Remember before it was a non-detect, because now the wind is blowing straight from the source to that receptor. And you can see those concentrations around it, and that non-detect up to the northeast, again, is because of the way the wind is blowing. Now, again, it's been said that, okay, there's probably another, or possibly another source, and that's this whole conversation. Mr. Mayor, you've talked about another source, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes of tonight. There is no other source, and I will show you why. Now, if you go to the second map, this is the first round of work that we did for the parents of the Waverly School. We used something called the modified cross-sector averaging technique, which my good friend John Rabius said he was eviscerated last month because he couldn't quite explain it. I will explain it. Despite what people have said, this method is a method that was developed by the US EPA Region 7 in the person of Jody Hudson, who is or used to be the boss of Mike Davis, who is now the acting regional monitoring expert in Region 7. I know Mike Davis personally. I know Jody Davis personally. I've taught courses with them at Air and Waste Management all the way back in the early 1990s. So for people to say that they don't support this method, absolutely false. And I do believe, I wasn't here last month, I wish I was, but I do believe that Katie Weiss read the correspondence between her and Mike Davis. And so I'll just leave it at that. Now, here's how that method works. When we did this work on March 2nd, we did not have the results of the February 16th monitoring because, as you have stated, Mr. Mayor, that report didn't come out until March 22nd. Okay, no problem. But so we did not know anything. We went in there without any preconceived knowledge, except here's how this method works. We have significant expertise in open path optical remote sensing, method TO16 FTIR spectroscopy, and I think this has been discussed before. If we had an FTIR instrument and we shot that plume, or that beam, along that path length, and I apologize it's not in color, but you can see where it says downwind path. That straight line along Marbledale Road is 190 meters long. So if we had an FTIR instrument, we would shoot that beam, and what we would get, we would get a path integrated concentration. We did the next best thing. We took a Sumer canister sample that we put a 30-minute timer on, and we walked up and down the street. And actually, it was John Rabies who did that walking at a uniform rate to simulate what that optical remote sensing instrument would see, because we didn't think a permit would be required, and we did not think, or we were told that we probably wouldn't get approval for doing a permit, even though the community wanted to go through. And we submitted a proposal for that got reviewed by Mr. Musso and the board, maybe 2 or 3 months ago. I don't know. So anyway, when you take that path length and multiply it by the Sumer canister number that came back from the lab, which you can see for that first sample there, D2, 2.2 micrograms per cubic meter times 190 meter is 418 micrograms per square meter. That's what precisely the FTIR would see had we used it, had we been able to use it.
Mr. Mitchell, let me interrupt you just for the education of the public. This, the testing that you're describing extremely well. This was all submitted to the court. Is that correct? In your affidavit?
Honest to God, I don't remember.
I remember.
We've had a couple, okay.
I believe it was. Just so everyone knows. So this information has been before the court.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe
Okay.
the report was submitted. Correct. No, not the last page. Not the May 8th data. We're going to get to that. That is the pièce de résistance, if you will. We'll get there. Thank you. So then, okay, so on this day, March 2nd, remember, we didn't have the knowledge that was gotten from the February 16th. If you look at the February 16th again at the beginning, it's pretty clear that the southern part of the site was not emitting TCE because of the non-detected, because of that wind. By the way, that was an 8-hour sample. So they would have seen something had the southern site had TCE. Now, why did we assume that it was coming from the southern part of the site? Because we were told, we read the work plan, and we were told over and over and over again, community meetings, that the site was completely buttoned down. All the rest of the site was buttoned down because there was plastic everywhere. There was no activity at all in the northern half of the site. So what we did, we walked that path length, and we said, okay, and if you recall, sir, we did submit that report, and so the way to do this is you look at what the width of that plume is as it crosses the property line. And if the source was coming from right there, the intrusive activity, you would divide by that path length, and we would have a very high concentration of 41.8. The assumption, of course, is that that activity is the source. That's where it's coming from. We know now it's probably not true. It was probably coming from the northern part of the site. But when you do that kind of sampling, or if you had an FTIR, you wouldn't be able to tell where it was coming from. But you would never miss the plume because you'd always get it. And that's why that method is an appropriate method, because you can't put a monitor right downwind because the wind is always changing. Be that as it may, that's what happened. Now, if you'd be so kind to turn to the last page, May 8th, fairly recently. This time, again, the wind was very favorable. Oh, by the way, you don't have to turn back, but all three of those first studies there, the soil was dry, which is conducive to vapors coming through, and the on-site activity was nominal at best, despite what his report says. Obviously, because there was nothing coming out of that southern site. Otherwise, he would have seen it, at least no TCE. Okay, May 8th, the soil was wet. There were standing puddles. There had been a lot of heavy rain a couple of nights before. No on-site activity, nothing. The site was not even, there was nobody on site. And if you see sample D3 in the bottom of the page there, that dot represents right in the Planet Fitness Center parking lot, immediately adjacent to the site. There is no other possibility for that 2.5 except coming from the site. As you can see, the upwind sample, it was non-detect, as all of our upwind samples were, because we sampled upwind. And if you look at the way the winds were, very consistent throughout the day, if you look at the way they're lined up between our sample that got 2.5 and the two that were collected as close as we could get to the Waverly School, 0.97 and 0.73. It's pretty clear where this is coming from. Now, can we say conclusively that there is not another source contributing? How can you prove the negative? It's incumbent upon the developers to prove the negative. You can't prove the negative. If they don't think it's coming from the site or if there's another source, it's up to them. This is conclusive in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Curry.
Those numbers, AGC is the annual guideline concentration set by the Division of Air Resources of the DEC, working in conjunction with the Department of Health, setting these numbers. And the SGC is a short-term guideline concentration by the DEC, which is an hourly concentration. So when we see numbers that are higher than 0.2, it means, hey, this site, if it's been off-gassing all this time, it's a problem. And we submit it has been off-gassing all this time. And further, any activity, which is probably happening now, we haven't been out there since the 8th of May, is almost invariably having higher concentrations, much higher concentration. And I want to point out again that the 8th of May sampling It was wet, and that was not conducive. Had that been dry conditions, we would have seen higher numbers.
Thank you, Mr. Minich. Perry?
Mr. Minich, Mr. Minich,
sorry.
I have a question, if you don't mind. So these are, how are these tests taken? These are summa canisters your firm placed throughout the village?
I'm sorry.
On May 8th, it looks like someone installed 3 summa canisters?
Yeah, we
You
had
did
one
that.
person install, take, again, the sampling time.
What?
You're looking at the May 8th one, I assume.
Yeah, correct, yeah.
Okay. Each sample was a half hour in duration.
Half hour?
I'm sorry, 1 hour,
1 hour.
11:15 to 12:15, 1:45 to 2:45. It says it right on the sample.
Okay, I'm
Okay.
just trying to understand this.
Okay, that's fine. And that's it. So the person went sequentially and took those samples, and we plotted the wind direction and the speed for that particular hour.
I'd like to understand the process. So what you're saying is you had a canister on the Ridge, then you had a canister on Hall Avenue, and then you had a canister at Phoenix Fitness, or you took the canister from the Ridge, you moved it down to there.
No, the first thing, we needed 4 cans.
Okay, I'm trying to
No,
understand.
it's
this.
okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
4 cans. I see 3. Am I missing something?
Yes.
Let's see,
One
U1,
upwind and 3
D1,
downwind.
D2, D3. What does the ND mean?
No, none detected.
Oh, sorry.
And do you have can you submit the lab reports,
Absolutely.
if you don't mind?
Absolutely. I will do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Perry? So your mom, by the way, this week.
Without even trying, I'm going to dumb this down after following Mr. Minich there. I have a couple of things to talk about, but when I got home tonight, I turned the meeting on as I was getting ready to walk out the door. And you were talking about the TCE and who to contact. I can tell you that I had called the county probably 4 times in the last week. Don't call the county. The county has nothing to do with this. They will immediately direct you to the state. They're at the point now, and I just called them on Friday, so maybe something changed.
I think it's going to change.
Well, on Friday it didn't, because I couldn't even get the words out of my mouth. I said, "Hi, I'm from Tuckahoe and I want to talk about." They go, "Oh, you got to call the state," right? Call the state. Got bounced around 4 times, and today I got a phone call back from let's see,
From the county or the state?
Mrs. Onkaby, Renata Onkaby.
Oh,
and very nice woman, and she is going through all the permits for the businesses on Marbledale Road to see what's going on there, and she said that she will get back to me by the 19th, and if I don't hear from her by the 19th, I'll call her back.
Where was she from again? The state or the state?
DOH. And they are the ones that are taking the lead on the TCE issue as far as it being from somewhere else other than the site. Okay? So
We think that, we believe, our understanding is that they're going to be working with the county's air monitoring office, and I think I think we're all going to see, hoping we're going to see some changes.
because I asked them point blank. I said, "Do you have the data on MediRay? Do you have the data on Fleetwood?" And they didn't, but they were going to be looking into those. I definitely have a vested interest in finding out what's going on at those locations, whether it's TCE or anything else.
These
So-
spray booths are permitted by the county, and then they're re-inspected by the county.
No, I know, and so that's a great segue. So that's gonna take me to the next thing that I wanted to talk about. So so over the last couple of months, I've had really strong chemical smells in my backyard. Like I'm in the house 15 years. I've never even MediRay. That's strong, but you kind of know when that's happening. This is something different, right? So April 29th, I'm in the backyard. My son, we're doing yard work. All of a sudden, it's not like a faint smell. It's like punch you in the face, immediate headache. My son's like, "What is that?" I'm like, "That spray paint from the body shop. Go inside," right? So he's happy he got out of the yard work.
When was that,
But-
Perry, give me that date again, please.
The 29th.
April 29th.
So immediately when this happens, right? So I emailed the mayor because I want it on record. I want it on record that I want some sort of timeline. And Mayor Eklund got back to me within a couple of days, which was great. And he said that he was going to have Mr. Burke get back to me to tell me what the hours of operation for businesses are on Marbledale Road, especially Fleetwood Auto Body. So Mr. Burke got back to me a couple of days later, and he said that there are no restrictions for the businesses at the auto body repair shop on Marbledale Road. So I'm going, okay, that explains why Saturday afternoon, but I'm like, so like it's Sunday morning, they could spray. 4th of July, I'm having a barbecue, they can spray.
Perry, let me just interrupt.
But no, let me just finish.
No,
Right? So like,
I want because that's actually I find that I know that when, and I'm going to ask Gary this question, our village attorney, isn't there a requirement that they're only allowed to operate during certain hours? I remember when I was on the zoning board, when we would issue, somebody can operate a spray booth 24/7. You believe?
I'll have to check on that.
Okay, we'll check on that.
and that
sounds a little.
My whole point is this.
I thought, I don't think.
Didn't they
I
have to get a special use permit?
I thought they got a special use permit. I thought there were restrictions on.
Yeah,
again,
see,
I
they
think
get a
that was
special use permit through the
John
zoning
Cavallaro
board.
there.
Well, that's my question. So like, who gives them like the blessing? Like you can spray 24/7. Who does that?
When they, what we were just saying is that, and I remember this because actually when Fleet Collision first, when they were at the other location on Marbledale Road, I was on the zoning board, I remember at that time. And they needed to come before the zoning board to get a special use permit, which is basically an opportunity for the zoning board to control hours of their operation. Same thing with the karate school. They had to get a special use permit, which controlled the days and hours of operation. And I remember that for Fleet, because I was on the zoning board at that time. So for them moving to the other location, does that move with them? I'm not really sure, but, so we will get we'll speak to Bill Williams. He's been on vacation for a little while. He's back. We'll get that specific answer.
I mean, like, listen, I'm all for people making a buck.
No, I get it,
No
but
problem.
look,
Like,
I don't want them
I hope
spray-
they make
I
millions of
wouldn't want them
dollars,
spray
but I
painting
don't
on
want them to
Christmas
poison me in
Yeah, no,
in the course of doing that.
It's obvious.
Like, like if in summer hours they can't spray after a certain time, or they can't spray on the weekends when people are out, I think that's appropriate, right? In the wintertime, people are more inside. You want to change that a little bit? I mean,
Well, not only that, even if it's not a condition of a special use permit, it's something that we may take up. We're going to be doing some changes to the village code and the zoning code this year. So it's a good point. It's a good item for us to look at.
I appreciate it. I'll look forward to hearing the
Yeah.
response on that. Thank
Good.
you.
Thank you. All right, anybody else? Mr. Dardano. We're going to wrap it up with you tonight.
Mike Dardano, 62 Chestnut Street. Sir, I'm sorry, I didn't get your name? Dan, Dan, just so you know, if you go back and look at the meetings for February and for March on YouTube, on the channel for the village, you'll see that we did document some violations that were occurring on the site. And all the I's and all the T's were not crossed, and the village board actually investigated some of that too. So things like plastic not being properly placed on stockpiled soil, trucks leaving without things covered, things of that. You can check it out and you can see. Some of that is not debatable because we have video and photographic proof, so just so you know. I just wanted to. Yeah, there was a drum. You guys may know about that. They
Yeah,
found a
I
metal
just,
drum,
I
but I don't know.
I brought that up at the meeting.
What's in it.
Yeah, no, it was empty, they said, and he said they disposed of it. Yeah, it was empty, actually.
It was empty, tested, and disposed.
Right.
Yeah, because you could see it was there was a hole in it. And it was
Right.
Yeah. Anyways, I wanted to just briefly talk about motivation, and I think that might help give some clarity to some of the newer people here and whatnot. That the motivation that we're seeing, or lack of, from the state is very disturbing, and or the county, I guess, too. And what I think makes sense, and I'm going to give a suggestion to you guys, again, it's up to you, but I think it makes sense for us to push even harder. I know private citizens have been talking to the DEC and the DOH, but we know what's on Marbledale. We know that there's Brondow, and Brondow makes solvents. They make cleaners. You can smell the pine stuff when it comes out of the, when they open the windows, you can actually smell it on the street. Mediray and all that. So I think what might make sense is for, if they're going to just dilly-dally and be bureaucratic, let's just come up with some suggestions for them. I mean, I have my own suggestions, and I'm going to email to you guys to think how we should handle this. For example, the former King's Electronics plant. There are 4 pipes there. Now we know that the whatever it is, the sugar stuff it's supposed to be eating the whatever.
Molasses, yeah.
Molasses, yeah. But when was the last time it was tested by the DEC? I don't know. And those pipes I don't think are filtered. So my point is that I think it makes sense to do an all-out push and not let the bureaucrats go blah, blah, blah and talk about what's going to take this long. Let's push them, call a press conference, let's get them off their behinds, because wherever this TCE is, whether it's from the brownfield, and some of us feel strongly it is, and then whether it's from somewhere else, let's end this, because this is crap. We have so much other things we got to talk about, and in addition to that, we got to deal with the northern and southern parts of the site, and the additional things that are going to happen regarding the vapor extraction and all the other parts of the construction. I have to tell you, Antonio, you mentioned how loud that compaction, maron, that is loud. It is so loud that I recorded it from my phone in my kitchen, and you could hear it. It shakes. Now, I'm on 62 Chestnut, but for Joe and all those others, it's loud. Now, I don't know if it's breaking the decibel level, but I know it's loud. And I feel bad because every time it clicks, I feel that certain people that are running that construction firm are doing things with their finger to me. And I know that's a bad thing, but I just feel that way because it's not a good neighbor. And what motivates someone? Passion for serving this village, okay? Protecting the people. But the person that's running that project is motivated by several things.
By money.
Right. And that's fine. That's
profit,
America.
sure.
But everyone else here isn't.
No, I get that.
So that's what bothers me, and that's why I think we should take the leadership, the village, together with the people, and let's tell the DEC and DOH, this is what we want. We have enough intelligence here, including we get feedback from our experts. Musso, look, this is the deal. Boom, boom, boom. Here's what we want. None of this crap. And then if they stall, then we can nail them, because it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous that it's taking this long. You're getting the runaround. He's getting the runaround. Kate's been getting the, anyone that, we get the runaround. It's bureaucratic crap.
Like I said, I absolutely believe that that tide is changing. It's going to be changing this week for sure.
All right, well, I still would like to, as a suggestion from the village residents, put together, I have some ideas, I know some else do, we will send you.
I'd be interested in that. We've actually, we've already started to assemble. It's funny that you brought this up because we have already done that. But I want to see what you have.
Absolutely.
I'm kind of interested, yeah.
The more brains, the better.
Yep, good.
Thank
you. All right, with that, I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Marinella. You will be last tonight, Mr. Marinella, because I am closing this meeting at 10 o'clock, so you have 5 minutes.
I didn't have an intention to.
Speak right into that microphone.
I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay,
Yep.
fine. I didn't have intentions of coming up here, but I just want to bring a couple things to your attention. And by the way, Steve, you were right about that memorial. I enjoyed it. See all those people there. We had a lot of veterans. In any event, I'm coming up here to ask you three things. I came here at the last meeting and I requested that you and the board get a hold of whoever's responsible to get the canisters up at the Immaculate Conception. They're not there yet. I have my granddaughter in that school. I want to protect her. My only concern and my only argument that I come up here month after month after month is the health and safety of the children, the seniors, and the residents of this village. That's the only reason. Because I knew what went down there, Tom. And I'm worried because you, 5 gentlemen, don't live 50 feet from that project like I do. You don't have your grandchildren and children sleeping up there like I do every night. I'm worried. I'm seriously worried. And tonight you heard from the other gentleman who presented his case to you. You five make your decision on whether or not he's right or all these other people are right. So again, I'm requesting those canisters up at the Immaculate Conception. I went to the last meeting at the community center, and the only person that was there, Mayor, was Bill Callahan. He got no message from any of you, nor the village administrator, that I came and requested the canisters. It was new to him. So at least he knows now. I don't know how you get the canisters up there to make sure those children are not going to get sick. That's my only concern. The welfare of our children, the seniors, and the village residents. And I live 50 feet from that project. My other question, Mayor, is that I'd like you to get a decimal reading.
For that impact compact?
I cannot live in my house. So if you're going to reduce my taxes for the year, fine. I'll find another place to go and stay. I cannot stay in that house. That noise is enough to wake up. I didn't want to use the word, but it's horrible. It's just so horrible. You can't eat, you can't sleep, you can't do anything. You can't even write. That's how bad it is. I wish you'd come up when they got that machine in operation.
Oh, I've been down there. Actually, I've been down there almost every day, so, yeah, so.
Well, okay, and the other thing I'd like to bring to your attention, because I heard Perry talking tonight about the auto body shop. A month and a half ago, in the Penny Saver, there was a full-page ad. There was a gentleman who closed his business in another community in Westchester, and he moved to Tuckahoe with his whole operation. Guess where? Fleetwood Collision. So now this man,
A month and a half ago? I'm sorry,
about a month and a half ago, I have the ad.
that he's been there, though, Fleetwood Collision.
Oh, the new?
Oh, somebody else? Fleet Collision's been there for a long time.
Oh, I know that.
Okay.
He was in Denny's building. And he moved
Yep, got it.
and he moved across the street.
Yep.
And that's the Seminara building. Well, there was a full-page ad that this company closed in another community in Westchester and moved to Marbledale Road in the village of Tuckahoe. Isn't that great?
Now that you're mentioning it, it's funny, now that you're mentioning it, when he came before me, now we're going back 14 years ago, they were in Fleetwood at the time, so I'm assuming, I didn't realize that he kept his Fleetwood business going while he had this. He must have kept them both. So you're saying that he closed the Mount Vernon operation and only has the Tuckahoe operation now? Okay.
Let me get you.
Yep, got it.
Fleetwood Collision was in Fleetwood.
Right.
They moved to Tuckahoe and Denning's building.
Mm-hmm.
Then, when Seminara bought that property, he decided to move across the street. And he's running his operation across the street.
Right.
I was at those meetings. I didn't miss one of them. But what I'm telling you is there is a new company, brand new, who is operating in another community in Westchester County that was either told to leave or whatever, and they moved their operation into Fleetwood Collision. So whatever Fleetwood Collision was doing and the amount of business he was doing, it's double now.
So you're saying that the Fleetwood Collision business is sharing his property with somebody.
Exactly
Got it. I'm
right.
trying to understand what you're saying,
That's
Joe.
what I'm
All right,
saying.
okay, got it, okay. And if that's the case, I will make sure that we check with our building department. If another corporate entity is in there conducting spray booth operations, they would need to, well, first of all, they would need to go through the building department to get a CO to occupy the space there. So, got it, understood. I didn't know where you were going with that. Okay.
Last thing, I really want to just plead with you, Mayor Eklund, Tom, Steve, all of you. I just want you to really get the information that was given to you tonight by those tests and those people and look into it. Find out if we're going to be sick. Find out if the children up in my area and when my granddaughter wants to come over and keep me company, I'm afraid to let her stay in my home. I want to know who's lying. And there's got to be a lot of lies here, Mayor. We got to drain our own swamp. That's what we got to do. We got to drain our own swamp and find out who's telling us the truth and who's lying. Because I surely will never, ever, ever, ever believe Mr. Weinberg. Never, never will I ever trust that man as long as I live. He never had the decency to come here and listen to the community. And he shut us out. Shut us out. And here he's in our community building a 5-story hotel. And I'm still trying to find out what the height of this building is, what it looks like. I'm asking you to help me find out what kind of a building we're going to have down there. Because it's not going to work on Marbledale Road, I don't think. Not with all these other hotels being built throughout Westchester County. I know you got a tough job up there. Believe me, I know it. More than you know, I know. But I'm concerned about a lot of things. My last thing I'm concerned about is I've lived in that house since 1960 when we built it. I had a scary accident this Friday with someone with a car who came across my lawn and did damage, but thank God no one got hurt. My other question and concern is that lately, if you get in your car, and I wish you would, drive up to Bella Vista, drive down Hollywood, go down Monroe, and see how many houses are up for sale now. Quite a few. We had a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful young couple that moved on Bella Vista into Mr. Rugliano's house. And I remember when they came to the first meeting in reference to this problem. And I could see they weren't comfortable. They weren't comfortable. And all of a sudden, just recently, I see a for sale sign. That breaks my heart up in my community on that ridge. I hope it's not going to be the start of a problem because the houses aren't being sold that fast anymore. And I wonder why. I don't want to see this village get hurt. You know that. I don't want to see the village get hurt. But if we're not going to be open and honest, then it will get hurt. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Joe, I just want to one question. You know we have a community. I think the canister that you're talking about for Immaculate Conception, that's the similar thing that we have at Waverly, right?
Yeah.
It's a monitor at Waverly.
Right.
So are you satisfied with the monitor at Waverly? I mean, does that give you some sense of comfort? Because to my knowledge, there's been no detections, nor at that one. I mean, so.
I'm not the scientist. He's here. I don't know what they detected upon those monitors yet. I really don't. But as far as the Immaculate concerned, you know, you live right up in that area.
I do.
I think it's closer, or maybe equal in distance. But there's 800 children up there, Steve.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to let you take that offline because I have someplace else to be. So,
Thank
yes,
you,
ma'am,
Joe.
If you want to talk to us, you can talk to us offline. Motion to adjourn this meeting.
So
Second.
All right. You can ask this question to us offline just in a minute. Second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you very much, everybody. Yes, please. I know. Come on up.